Yo, shout out gang, man. Listen, live a story worth retelling. I can't say it anymore. I'm trying to get this channel to a place where everybody watches, bro. Everybody gets something from it. Everybody hears God in this story. Now, here is where I'm at, right? I am trying to free people in this segment that I'm gonna talk about because, again, you know, like I talked to you guys in my last episodes, I said, you know, I used to get a lot of fast money. I used to sell drugs. And a lot of the selling drugs was to get extra money, because again, my godfather and my godmother funded me and my mom my whole teenage life. And basically, my mother was too sick to have a job. She couldn't keep a job. Every time my mother get a job, she lose the job because my mother lose the job because of her health. And it wasn't an indictment on her, but that was just her cloth. And so for me, I wanted to be some sort of help in the house, and you know, I kind of presented me being in the street and selling drugs with a pitch where it came out of getting working papers. So in high school, you could get working papers, right? And the working papers, so crazy. I would work for mad places. So I worked for the YMCA. I worked for something, because I was living in the Bronx. So I live in Parkchester. So there's this thing called Kibbs Bay and Soundview I was close to. There was this new and still running YMCA in at the end of Castle Hill. And then literally, I started working in my school too. Like I would work in my school. I'll assist the principal in whatever festivities she needs me to assist her in. So if she needs me to write an email, if she needs me to go get her mail, like just literally those are the jobs I had, you know. So I even worked for my football coach, you know what I mean, on the off season, on just recruiting and stuff, helping them out with recruiting when kids come to the school and want to try out and have private tryouts. So I was doing all that stuff, but still making a lot of bread in the streets under certain guys, you know what I mean, that was in the gang, you know what I mean? Again, so when I was blood, we was out here, we was banging, and you know, it was crazy, you know. I never forget this one dude. He wasn't even in the same blood set I was in. I was in a set where a couple of dudes from Inglewood moved out to New York, and they started a clique called Inglewood Paru, and they gave all the like power to this one dude from our neighborhood called G Murder, and he actually started his clique. And you know, I joined his clique off of like the clique the clique and the branch of Bloods I was in, that I was connected with before. They were kind of dying out. Dudes was getting locked up. Dudes was getting killed. So it was like, yeah, I ain't really have support. And if someone wanted to like try some funny business, I didn't have a connect. I didn't have people connected to. I could have called people from my hood in Parkchester, but in Parkchester they were really there was a lot of people part of different sets. But when I joined this clique called Inglewood Paru, real talk, like, yo, I became untouchable. So, but there was this one dude that was around my high school. No, I'm lying. He was around my rival's high school, which is Lehman High School. There's Lehman High School and Christopher Columbus. I went to Christopher Columbus in the Bronx. And basically, there was this dude that went to Lehman. He was part of a set called G-Shine. This is when the Bloods had a set called G-Shine, and then they eventually called them Shine. If you only know what I'm talking about if you used to bang, and if you was banging, you only know what I'm talking about if you was banging. So he was selling PCP and cocaine. But the crazy part about him was he was connected to a bunch of Italians, right, that were involved with the mob. And I was his Arab boy in the beginning. He eventually got killed. So then I eventually started dating one of the mob's like daughters, and literally, you know what I mean, I thought like I only dated her because she used to have money and she went to my high school, and I actually thought she was Albanian because there was a lot of Albanian people in my high school. So I really thought she was Albanian, and she told me she was Italian. And then she told me she knew my bro that got killed, that I used to be his errand boy for, that I used to be an errand boy for. So then she then was telling me, you know, she then introduced me to her peoples in a pizza shop, which we all know what the pizza shop setup system is. And listen, I became my own person. And I became an errand boy on a different level. And because I was so nerdy and I didn't really care about my looks when I was younger, I just cared about every video game and every wrestling action figure and then WWE. So I didn't really care about getting fly. I would say sophomore year of high school, I started buying designer clothes and name brand clothes. But like when I was in middle school, I only bought designer and name brand clothes my 8th grade year. I didn't really buy designer clothes most of my middle school days. I just wore hoodie, and I either wore a hoodie and shorts or sweats and a hoodie every day, no matter if it was summertime, wintertime, whatever the case may be. But anyway, when I started selling, or when I started like delivering, I was such a good errand boy that they took a chance on me on selling. And then I started selling, you know, and I'm talking about selling the smallest like shipment of drugs, but getting a lot of money. That for me as a kid that's 13, 14, that's bread. I'm good money. I don't need, I just shoot some mom to my bread. I shoot some bread to my mom, and then I buy toys and buy video games. And that was my life until I got a little older and I started buying designer because I wanted all the girls. And literally I continued to do all these things for a while, right? You know, getting fast money for a while. And then when I started to discover Jesus for myself, the love of money started to disappear. And then when I started reading the word and I discovered that the love of money is the root to all evil, I kind of detached myself from the hunger of wanting money. And it was so crazy because I remember the same season that I gave up the gang for Christ, I did the same thing with drugs. And I remember when I did my last shipment, when I did my last set of deliveries, I never forget, I was riding back on the train and I felt like I was getting set up. But one of the things I used to do, I used to have a sidekick. So what I would do is I would always text the person who I'm giving the stuff to. I would always text them, and I would always tell them a whole opposite outfit that I have, right? Than what I actually had on. And my last drop, I thought I was being set up, and the person wasn't setting me up. The person was actually one of the people, but for me, from afar, he looked like a cop. He looked like a DT. But my last drop, I went back to my supply. I went back to the supply. I went back to the big homie. That's what they called them back then. They called him the big homie. I went to him and I said, look, you don't got to give me a cut this time because I'm done with this. And you know, people in that culture, they're very honorable. So they try to give you your last. It's like a job. They try to give you your last commission, a job that liked you. They try to do right by you. And my thing was, no, I need to make an exit. I need to make a radical exit. And this is my radical exit. And I told them that I found Christ and they let me rock. Now, after the fast money's gone, now I have to figure out how do I still honor God and still be able to take care of my situations. And I want to open it up by saying, like I said in my last segment, or I won't even say open it up. I want to say I want to enter this by saying everything must bow. So your financial struggles that you have, I'm not preaching prosperity, but I'm speaking unfair favor. When you have God and Jesus Christ is your Lord and your Savior, and you're serving Him, and you're doing the things that you know is benefiting you to have a better call and a better relationship with Him, everything that's a problem in your life will bow to Christ, because that's just who Jesus is. He's not a God that, oh yeah, I know Sidney's serving me with all his heart. He's given his last. He's given me his 10%. He's given me his last, even when he doesn't have his last. God still provided. And it took me a lot of things. And like I said, in my other segments, professional help is not bad. So some rooms and some communities, I had to pay to be in the room. And one of those rooms that I was paying for to be in was David Ramsey. David Ramsey, shout out to David Ramsey. Much respect to you, man. You taught me how to save money. You taught me how to budget my money. You taught me if you're going to be in a system living check to check, you taught me how to save from that check to check. You taught me how to be a good steward of my money. And I really respect. Those are one of the rooms I paid for to get perspective on how to save your money and be better with your money. And I think a lot of you need to understand that, especially in our culture, we want to elevate and we want better, but we don't want to pay or put the time or the money or the sweat or the prayers in to becoming better. I would have never been able to get married if I didn't prioritize. I would have never been able to get married if I didn't put my life in order. I would have never been able to be a good husband when it comes to that realm. To the point where when my wife does ask me, there's never a moment I'm looking at her saying no. There's always me just being able to be in a position to do. So I say all that to say, you can, if you put your mind to it and you want to be financially wealthy and you want that prosperity that's promised to you by God, you got to put the time in and being a good steward, because God can't bless a fool. And he could, but it's different when you and God are on the same page and the blessing just comes. See, wealth is not just money. Wealth is a mindset. Being broke is not just money, but broke is a mindset. So, yeah, man, we got to be better as people if we want the next best. If we want the best, if you want to develop wealth, you got to be a steward of your own money. Because what did happen to me, and I'm gonna be honest, and it still bothers me to this day, and it still happens to me to this day. I will spend a whole check, right? And then I will go slave to get that money back. And that's not a good way to live, because that's another way, that you're putting yourself in another position to be you're putting yourself in another position to live in the fast money lifestyle, right? Because when it was fast money, I go do these couple of errands and I'm getting paid. I get this little pound or 2 pounds of weed off. I mean, not weed, crack off or PCP off. I'm paid. But what happens is that to get free from that, you can't go into a 2-week job, work mad overtime, spend all the bread, don't save any of it, and then go back and do overtime all over again and get money again and do the same thing again, because real talk, you'll always be in financial bondage. But with prayer and fasting, if you look at God and you look at him with all your heart and you say to him, God, help me with this, that problem and that financial bondage has to bow. So again, man, this is your boy Sidney, man. If you have more questions for me, you want me to tell you more, you want to know more, like, share, subscribe, give me a comment, ask me some stuff, share this with a friend, put it on your page. If you want to inbox somebody, let me know. But yeah, man, this is how we get to financial, this is how you break financial bondage. And the last thing I'll say is I was delivered by financial bondage based off me reading the word and hearing the account in the event with the rich young ruler. I was able to break myself from financial bondage. So again, like, share, subscribe. Much love, yo. It's your boy City. I'm out of here.